Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. FPL Consult here, and today we're going to take a look at my Game Week 29 team selection. So as you read in the title of the video, I will not be free hitting in Game Week 29. That is 100% confirmed, and that is because I wildcarded in Game Week 28 as part of a last minute decision after making a couple of considerations and comparing what my actual team would look like for the next few game weeks as compared to a wild-carded Game Week 28 team. So for the time being, you can see that I'm on a very big green arrow. It seems like it's going pretty well. I'll touch on my score for 28 in greater detail, but I will be monitoring how my team progresses from 28 at least up till 30 as compared to my original team, because the plan initially was to wildcard in Game Week 31. So the hope is that in these few game weeks, these 3 game weeks at least, 28, 29 and 30, that I'll be making up enough points that would justify using the wildcard early in Game Week 28. So I will be monitoring it, I'll keep you guys in the loop. But for now, in Game Week 28, this was how I did before we jump into my 29 team selection. So I got a big green arrow. 115k in the world is where I stand at this point in time. 74 points for this game week, which is 30 points above the game week average. So it got me a big green arrow. I'm very, very pleased with that. In terms of a comparison to my original team, had I not wildcarded, I have only gained 6 points in Game Week 28. Come Game Week 29, I'll touch on how many points I potentially would gain then later on, right? Because I initially planned to take a -4 in Game Week 29, right? So when I add these together, maybe the potential gains are greater. But at least just for Game Week 28 alone, I've gained 6 points over my original squad had I not wildcard. So for now, it seems like it's going pretty alright. I'm very pleased with the big green arrow, but I am really hoping that this wildcarded team actually does well in Game Week 29, because in Game Week 29, my original team was looking pretty bad, even though I was able to field at least 7 to 8 players, right? It was players like Charlie Taylor and Ezri Konza that I would be fielding had I not wildcarded. So it's really in Game Week 29 where I feel the gains of wildcarding early would come around for my team. So I'll monitor that, as I mentioned just now. But just alone in Game Week 28, I think I'm very, very pleased with the decision to wildcard, at least for the time being, because I scored really well, and it seems like my team is able to deal with the future transfers and doubles, at least based off of what we know at this point in time. It's able to deal with it pretty well, so I'm alright with the decision to wildcard early. In terms of the score, Neto got 4 points. He didn't keep a clean sheet in both of those games that he's played. So against Luton, he didn't keep a clean sheet. Against Sheffield, he also conceded 2 goals as well. So shocking performance there from him, which almost led to him not starting the Luton game, but thankfully he did. Hopefully he keeps his spot, because I will need him to play in my team, at least for the next few game weeks. So Neto for now, 4 points. In defense, for Gabriel, he did not keep a clean sheet because obviously Ramsdale made a mistake and therefore Arsenal conceded their first goal in quite a while. So for those of you guys who doubled up on Arsenal defenders in terms of Gabriel as well as Saliba, that was pretty unlucky there. For me, I only had Gabriel. I did think he would keep a clean sheet, but 1 point only for him. As for Zabani and Doughty, obviously we were expecting a lot more from them because they had double game weeks, and honestly speaking, after the first game for both of them, it was looking pretty bleak. So for Zabani to walk away with a goal in the second game against Luton with 8 points, really, really pleased with that. We got a bit lucky there because that was pretty much his only goal this whole season, and his attacking threat has been so bad that this goal really does feel like a little bit of a fluke, right? So I guess we put ourselves in positions to get lucky by choosing the players that will definitely start. So Zabani got 8 points there, very pleased with that. Doughty got an assist as well in the second game against Bournemouth, so 5 points for him. In midfield, Palmer got 13 points. He's someone I think that we cannot go without, basically. I think he's a player for now, with the value that he's at. He's still at about sub 5 million. It's so cheap for the value that he provides. He's on penalties. He plays 90 minutes for a Chelsea team that looks like they still can score. Maybe defensively Chelsea aren't the best, but attackingly they are an alright outfit, and I think Palmer should be going nowhere for everyone else. Even on a wild card, you should definitely keep him, and I'm glad I've done so. So 13 points for him. For Bowen and Saka, both of them blanked. To be fair, I was expecting a lot more from both of them, especially Bowen, who had Burnley at home. He was supposed to be a bit of a differential for me, so I'm quite unhappy actually that he blanked, but it is what it is. Saka also blanked against Brentford, where Arsenal kind of felt it was difficult to play against Brentford because they did actually concede by Wissa's goal, right? So that kind of changed the game a little bit. Had Ramsdale not made the mistake, maybe Saka gets a little bit more, maybe the game changes a little bit, but 2 points for him. And then Son, obviously in the absence of Richarlison, as well as one less man for Aston Villa, scored 17 points, so incredible returns for him. And then up front, it's Solanke with 16 points because he was my captain. He could have gotten a lot more, so for those of you guys who triple captained Solanke, you were quite unlucky. He did put the ball into the net in the first game as well as miss a penalty, so there was so much more points to be had for Solanke in Game Week 28, but he walks away only with 8 points. Morris blanked, Watkins also blanked. On my bench, the only notable mention in terms of points is Udogie at 6 points, but realistically speaking, I wasn't going to start him ahead of any one of these other defenders that I have, given that he was playing against Aston Villa. And as for Elanga, I will touch on him a little bit more going into Game Week 29. He seems like a little bit of a doubt now that he did not start the game in Game Week 28, but I actually am quietly confident that he's quite a good differential to have now, and I'll discuss that in the next section. So for Game Week 28, again, big green arrow. I'm very, very pleased with that, but I want to try and keep the momentum up because in 29 and Game Week 30, those are the game weeks where I think it will be slightly trickier to navigate because 29 obviously is a blank. For those of you who are on a free hit, I'm probably going to have one less player than you guys. But for those in Game Week 30, it will be a week where a lot of us who have Arsenal players, let's say, as well as holding some Man City players as well from our original teams, if you wildcard in Game Week 29, if you free hit in Game Week 29, you will still be holding on to Arsenal and Man City assets in Game Week 30. You may be forced to play them, and that's where I think this team also kind of has an advantage there because I have only one Arsenal attacker and one Arsenal defender. I have no Man City assets here. Not to worry, I will be bringing them in bit by bit. But at least for Game Week 30, I'm quite happy that I'm going without any of them because I do think that will be quite a low-scoring game given how Arsenal have been defending as well as Man City. They're a decent defense as well. Not the best in the league this season, but they're a decent defense as always. Right? So I think that could be a low-scoring game, and that's where I think gains could be made for my team as well. So that kind of explains the decision why I wildcarded in Game Week 28. Hopefully it was clear because the previous game week I was not able to put out a proper video. I did film the video at the airport, so hopefully this kind of clarifies it a little bit, and I apologize for rambling on a little bit more. But let's take a look now at my Game Week 29 team. So for Game Week 29, this is likely how my team is going to line up. It's a 3-4-3, but realistically it's really a 3-3-3 because in midfield I have one player blanking, so I'm only able to field 10 players without taking a hit, and I think I'm alright with it because I don't want to part ways with any of the players that I have currently blanking. So Palmer, I'm not keen on selling him. Saka and Gabriel, no way. Right, in Neto, I won't be making a keeper transfer right now. And in terms of Zabani, I think I'm alright to keep him with the fixtures that Bournemouth have moving forward as well. So I'm not going to sell any of those players because I need them for the future. And that really only left Solanke that I could sell. So in terms of Solanke replacements, I had Tony, which I could go to, and Muniz from Fulham, which is also a player that I very seriously considered. So these two were the players that were on my mind, and I've kind of settled on Tony for now. I haven't confirmed the transfer, but I think I'm more likely to go with Tony now instead of Muniz. So discussing these two options in a little bit more detail, I would only need both of them, I would only need either of them, whichever one I go for 2 weeks, which is in Game Week 29 and then in Game Week 30. So for Tony, he has Burnley away and then Manchester United at home in Game Week 30. As for Muniz, in Game Week 29 now, he has Fulham away and then, he has Tottenham at home and then he has Sheffield United away. Right, so in terms of fixtures, it's not too different. I think one of them has a great fixture this week, which is Tony, and then another one of them, which is Muniz, has a great fixture in Game Week 30, which is Sheffield. So both of them have one great fixture in there and one difficult fixture in there. In terms of minutes, though, I think Tony is the one that is definitely more secure. Penalties, Tony is definitely on penalties as well. Muniz is probably not on penalties. I think Andreas Pereira could be on penalties for Fulham. So realistically speaking, I think Tony objectively is a better asset, and I've worked out ways where I can have either of them and still not affect my transfer plans moving forward, because come Game Week 31, my team would at least need to have Haaland, Salah, as well as Darwin Núñez in for a couple of players here that are in my team for the time being. So I have to kind of manage the funds that I have right now, which is currently 11.1 million in the bank after moving for Tony and selling Solanke. So I'm pretty alright with this move. I think I'm likely to go with it. So on the balance, again, I'm not free hitting, but I think this squad actually looks very, very close to a free hit 29 team. I'm really only missing one player, which is James Maddison in that Cole Palmer slot if I was free hitting. I think I very well could be going with a team like this and take Palmer out for Maddison and use it as my free hit draft if I wasn't a free hit. So that's kind of the thinking behind wildcarding in game week 28 as well, that I was able to save the chip, save the free hit in 29, and still have a team that looks very, very close to a free hit team. So really, Maddison is my only kind of danger or threat to my team. If not, the rest of the players I think are pretty alright, and I honestly speaking pretty template as well. Flecken and Reguilon. So for Reguilon, he plays Burnley away. He is yellow flagged, but he's also pictured in training. I think he should be fine. We will get an update by Thomas Frank, hopefully, in the press conferences. And if he's fit to play, I think he's definitely one of the players that will be first few names on the Game Week 29 free hit for those of you who are on it. Right, and then there's Udogi that I have as well as Doughty. Right, so in midfield, it's Bowen, Son as my captain, and Ilanga. So I'll touch on captaincy later on at the closer to the end of the video, but just in terms of these three midfielders, for Bowen, I think there's definitely a chance he scores against Aston Villa because both of them are going to be playing after they have already played midweek in Europe. So they will be quite fatigued, and I do imagine that because of that, there will be quite a couple of goals there. So Bowen for West Ham, Watkins up front also should be in and amongst the goals. For Son, definitely a player that should be in your free hit teams if you are free hitting. For me, he's already in the team, and I probably am going to captain him. Comparing just Son and Tony, the reason why I've captained Son is simply because I feel like he is a player that he's firstly a midfielder, right? Both of them have a lot of things that are similar in terms of the fact that both of them are nailed to start. They get 90 minutes every game. They are pretty much going to be playing the centre forward position. So the only difference is Son playing or being listed as a midfielder and therefore getting one extra point, and then potentially a clean sheet point if he keeps a clean sheet as well. So I think Son, I'll just go for the extra point there and I'll go for Son there, who is definitely more creative as well as compared to Tony. I think Tony relies more on goals, right? So I go for Son for now, and I think he's pretty much, I guess, 90% to be my captain. For Ilanga, I am quietly confident of his minutes in Game Week 29 because looking at a couple of Nottingham Forest fans' tweets as well as reading the forums, there is a general consensus that's gathering that no one really knows why Ilanga was benched in Game Week 28. Maybe it was, some of them are alluding to the fact that it could be a tactical situation, but a lot of them were saying that Ilanga has been the best performer for Nottingham Forest, and I kind of agree with that as well. His data has been really, really good, so I honestly saw no reason as to why Nuno would be benching him. So I actually think he comes right back into the team. Right, and I also do foresee that his minutes for the next few game weeks should still be relatively stable, right? So the only thing that I guess it's an advantage for my team is that I don't think a lot of people would be going for Ilanga. For me, I don't have a choice anymore because I've already gone for him in my wildcard in Game Week 28. I'm just stuck with him for Game Week 29, but I don't mind it at all because now that not a lot of people are moving for Ilanga, even on the free hit, because they're put off by him being benched in 28, I think there is a good chance he's an even more of a differential, and if he really does pop off against Luton, which I definitely think is possible, I think he could be a very, very good differential for me. So hopefully he does that and ticks off, right? And then again, Palmer doesn't have a fixture there. He's just a placeholder, an empty slot. I would have had Maddison, right, if I was on a free hit, but again, can't have everything. And then up front, it's Tony, Morris, and Watkins. This is pretty much the standard template free hit front three that I've seen in a lot of drafts as well. So I'm not going to bore you guys with the front three. So there we go with my Game Week 29 free hit team. 29 free hit team. So I kind of convinced myself that I'm on a free hit already because it looks so similar. But this is my Game Week 29 team selection. So I'm saving the free hit. I'm only using it likely in Game Week 34. And of course, just sharing a little bit before we end the video on my future plans. The plan in Game Week 30 is actually to sell Bowen for Salah, because Salah has Brighton in game week 30. I think he'll be a good differential then as well, because not a lot of people will be moving for Salah. Come game week 31, I intend to make a double change, which is Tony and Watkins out for Darwin Núñez as well as Erling Haaland. So by then, my team would actually look pretty decent. I think it's quite close to a game week 31 wildcard as well, because you'd have Palmer, and then in place of Bowen, you'd have Salah, and then Son. And then Saka's on my bench right now. Up front, it would be Darwin Núñez as well as Haaland. So I think the template is pretty standard in terms of a game week 31 team. Some differentials that I would still have by then is maybe Ilanga, and I will still have Morris, depending on how good his fixtures are. I could choose to play him, but this is how my team is likely to look like for at least for the next few game weeks and the plans that I have at the back of my mind. For 29, this is likely what it's going to look like. I don't think it would deviate too much, but hopefully this video was helpful for you guys who aren't on a free hit and are thinking of what free transfers to make, who to sell, as well as some differentials to go for. But hopefully you enjoyed this one. If you did, please do drop a like, please do subscribe as well. As usual, I will be streaming 3 hours before the deadline on Saturday, so I will catch you guys there. But if not, thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys very, very soon. Bye bye.